I am Nayia Yiakoumaki, a contemporary art curator living in London since 1999 and born in Athens. I travel to Greece very often, mostly to see family or to work with colleagues abroad. But recently, I had to travel to Greece to clear the family house, which was occupied since the mid-1950s by my grandparents and later on by my own parents. As I was scavenging through the numerous bags and suitcases stored in the attic, trying not to miss something important, but also to ensure we did not keep unwanted items, I found a big pack of theatre programs that my father's sister, my aunt, had kept at some point in her life, possibly as a young woman still living at home with her parents. I had a quick browse, wondered if anyone would ever look at these again, and threw them rapidly in the recycling bag I had in front of me. Seconds after, I put my hand in again and salvaged them from the inevitable imminent shredding which was going to follow soon after the rubbish was collected. I suddenly thought that these theatre programs were presenting in front of my eyes Greece, or to be more specific, city centres such as Athens, as they were then, or as they aspired to be in the period 1952-1953, which were the dates on the programs. This is 7 years after the Second World War and only 3 years after the Greek Civil War. So at this time, the wounds of the Civil War were still fresh. It seems that the Greek economy had embarked on its post-war reconstruction. Production and consumption had exceeded pre-war levels, apparently, and the progress in technological modernization in many areas of economic activity was remarkable comparing to a few years before. But for most of the population, the standard of living was still very low. So today I'm going to talk about a theatre program and the thirst for prosperity and good life it hides within its pages. Aware that theatre was not accessible to everybody, certainly not for farmers living outside the big cities, I know that these programs were designed with a certain citizen in mind. The cover bears the typical drama-tragedy mask. The comedy and tragedy masks symbolize the theatre and represent the traditional, generic divisions between comedy and tragedy. These are symbols of the ancient Greek muses, Thalia, the muse of comedy, and Melpomene, the muse of tragedy. An interesting personal reminder here, as the family house I was clearing was on Melpomene's street. The mask has 3 letters around it, the Greek P, then a lambda, and a he. It took me a little to try and figure out which theatre that was, but soon I realized these were the first letters of the main actors' surnames, Eli Lambetti, Yorgos Papas, and Dimitris Horn. The theatre was Theatre Kiveli, Sibeli, in the center of Athens. The play was written in 1945, and the title was Au Petit Bonnet by Marc Gilbert Sauvageon, a French film director and scriptwriter. 5 pages of this program are related to the play and the main actors, and the other 15 are advertisements, which tell us a lot about the country's slow recovery from the wars, the creation of a new middle class, as well as the consumption desires and social aspirations that came with recovery and the development of technology. 5 airlines are advertised here, promising to make the world accessible and enjoyable. Milk and rice ads as the basis of a family diet are also advertised, as well as cigarettes described as masterpieces and linked through graphic design to classical Greece. And the rest are ads for fashion boutiques, which were appearing all around Ermou Street at the time, and they were there at least until the late 1980s. One of the ads advertises its affordable prices and costs a coat for 370,000 drachmas, which is equivalent to £950, an enormous amount for the 1960s onwards. But in the 1950s, The Greek drachma was hugely devaluated to get the country back to speed with other European neighbours, so that was considered cheap. During the Easter week of 1953, the then Minister of Coordination announced on state radio that from that moment he was imposing a huge devaluation of the currency for 50%. Saving this program from the recycling bin transports me back to Greece, as this was experienced by my grandparents and parents, and reminds me of the route that Greece has taken to recover and flourish, then most recently collapse again, and now hopefully on a way to a new recovery.